Hi, I'm Daddy, and you're watching my OnlyFans. I never learned how to seduce people. Hi, I'm Daddy, and you're watching a motherfucking train wreck. How are you? How have you been? It's Merry 2020. Not a very merry year at all whatsoever. Way more of a struggle than it is for me to get out of this knockoff leather jacket from Amazon because I'm broke. But let's get comfortable. Let's sit down and talk. I'm already sitting. I think the topic of today is going to be insecurities. So let's sit here, have some tea. I'm gonna brew some tea. We might spill some tea. I might literally spill hot tea on myself. I'm not a very coordinated person. All the years of ballet I've done are not, they do not show. They don't. I'm sorry. But first, I'm gonna figure out what tea I'm going to drink. We have some organic rose. We have some lavender. Ginger for healthy digestion. How have you been digesting? I can't talk words. I can't speak. Why'd they give me 2 English degrees? I'm not good at that language. Ginger, supporting digestion. How have you been digesting this year? We have off-brand, well, not off-brand. We have, you know, store-brand, great value, friggin' green tea. What else do we have? We have ginger turmeric. This is probably 3 years old because I got this at my first apartment. I don't know. Do you guys care about what tea I'm drinking? This is from Trader Joe's. I love Trader Joe's. Everyone I know, I get them caught on Trader Joe's. I have no clue how well this is recording. You're probably hearing nothing but scrambling from little tea things. This is a pumpkin. How cute is that? Pumpkins. Who'd have thunk? Who came up with pumpkins? They was really doing something. It was really doing something when they came up with pumpkin. I guess the whole point of me doing this video is because I've been saying for years that I wanted to do a YouTube channel and that I wanted to do videos, and I briefly did when I was in college. And when I was working for the Odyssey Online, I was editor-in-chief for a bit, trying to create content, trying to be a mass comm boy, and that was really hard. I did a depression series, and God, I sure do wish I remember what I said the topic of this video was going to be. Is it crazy that I forgot it already? Did I say it was insecurities? God, who knows? So I had to take a break, and I had to go look up what the topic was. Is that bad? I forgot already. God help us. I need my security blanket. The topic was supposed to be insecurities. I have no clue where I left off. I should probably get tested for ADHD. How did I forget mid-sentence? Anyway, I believe what I was talking about was how I was doing a depression series, and it was supposed to be a raw look at me actively going through a depressive episode, and just being very honest about it and very open. And that was hard. That was really hard. College was hard. I graduated in 3 years. I stressed myself a lot to be like this overachiever, and a lot of times it just was like nothing I did was good enough. Segueing insecurities. That technically in a court of law, I feel, as someone who does not have a law degree, I feel like that would hold him in court as like an insecurity. The thing I just said. Yeah, I'm good at stuff. I'm good. I'm great. I'm positive affirmations. That's the thing I've been working on. So think there is some danger to an extent of labeling yourself as an insecure person, and not everything in life is so black and white. But I think there is a little bit of danger in labeling yourself as something, especially something negative, if you're going to stay in the spot of it. Like, I'm an insecure person, so I never need to work on my insecurities because that's just who I am. I can't ever stop being insecure. I'll always be insecure. But it's also like, if you're insecure about something, like, you should be honest with yourself, at least with yourself. You can lie to the world because, like, fuck them, like, you don't know those people. But, like, as long as you're being truthful to yourself and actively working on yourself and working on those insecurities, like, I'm burning myself a bit, and actively working on those insecurities, I feel like that's some good stuff. Actively working on yourself is some good stuff. Like, I was having a conversation with someone the other day. It was probably me talking to myself in my room because I do that a lot. We have such a great time. You think we'd agree more? Not so much. But overall, that girl be spitting. So ultimately, the whole point was that a lot of people, especially because we use the word toxic so much so to the point where, like, the word toxic has kind of become in itself toxic, and people use the language of toxicity to gaslight and manipulate others by, like, using words like gaslight, manipulate, and toxicity. And you can really weaponize words, especially when they go into the mainstream. You can totally weaponize words, right? But I think sometimes we get into this whole thing of, like, I know about toxicity, I know about all these words, and I've taken a look at myself, and I'm not toxic anymore. I can admit that I had toxic tendencies in my past, but I am no longer toxic. And on the one hand, I think you should always validate yourself in your growth, right? But, like, existence in itself is kind of toxic. Like, let's just be honest. Like, existence in itself is kind of toxic. Being a human being is just toxic. You're just inherently toxic. Being a person is just inherently toxic. Being born is toxic. Like, when people say, which signs are the most toxic? All of them. All the astrological signs. If you were born, you toxic, okay? You came into this world under some toxic ass conditions. The shit you put your mother through, toxic. Toxic. You've ruined her vagina. You've ruined it. You suckled from her tits and you ruined them. You made her feel like shit. Like, it was terrible. You caused immense pain. Like, fuck you. You're bad. Apologize to your mother for being born. That's a joke. I mean, you can't technically cancel me right now for joking like that because this is the first YouTube video, and I am a nobody, and the likelihood of me ever becoming somebody is probably low, and this will probably just get lost in the algorithm. Or things will go really well and this will age terribly. Oh my god. Hi, Black Twitter. Black Twitter doesn't care about me. Basically, footnote. Giving birth is incredibly difficult, and you shouldn't actually feel ashamed of your body. You did an amazing thing. People think just because people give birth every day that it's super easy and that, like, it can never go wrong. So many things can go wrong. Pregnancy is complicated and complex. I have no idea how people just, like, have a baby and then, like, walk out. Like, I'd be traumatized. Mom bods are hot and we should normalize them. But I'm rambling. You know, I'm not gonna feel bad about that. You guys aren't paying me. But basically, toxicity, everyone has toxic tendencies, and you're always going to have toxic tendencies. The real problem is not wanting to work on them and like ignoring that you have them to begin with. Like, work on that shit. Work on it. Like, one of my toxic tendencies is very much stemming from insecurity. I'm staying on topic, okay? It stems from my insecurity about my body. I grew up predominantly around women, but weight loss was always a huge thing in my household with like all the women around me. Most of them were always talking about like, I gotta lose weight, I'm so fat, I'm so disgusting, I'm so this. And like hearing those negative things about women's bodies, especially as a child, like your first introduction to other women socializing and viewing themselves, when the majority of that is like negative things, it's kind of hard for you to have a positive view of yourself if like all the examples of women are people who are saying negative things about their body, they're too fat, they're too this, they're too that, all this excess of like negative things. And you know, in itself, you can be like, that's toxic, that's a toxic environment. And it wasn't purposefully toxic, you know, it wasn't like my mother and my aunt and my grandmother were saying these things to give me on purpose a negative view of my body. I don't think they realized that I was even paying attention. I don't think my mother ever realized that like I would see her in the store and she'd like catch a glimpse of herself and go, suck it in, suck it in, suck it in, and like suck in her stomach, and she's like, oh, my disgusting gut. And this isn't like a call out to my mom, but it's like, this is just, it's this cycle, because like my mom didn't teach this to herself, and she probably learned it from her mother and the women around her, and her mother didn't teach that to herself, and it's just like constantly like this cycle. And so I feel like I had no other choice, because I had no other example of women just loving their bodies as is. And so I've had an eating disorder, so I've practiced like starvation, so much so, it got so bad my freshman year of college is when I finally had to accept that I had one, when like I noticed that I was super like tracking my calories. I was supposed to give a trigger warning, eating disorder. I was tracking my calories a lot and trying to lose weight, and then it went from the like 1,200 calories thing, which is already debatable. Some nutritionists would probably be like, that's not enough. So I probably was starting from a place of starvation, and I was like, okay, well, if I can do only 1,200 calories, and you're saying if, you know, the less calories I eat, the more weight I lose, then I can do like 1,000. And then I was like, I can do 900, I can do 700, I can do like, it got to a point where I was like, I'm gonna only have 100 calories a day. Then it got to a point where I'm gonna do only 75, then 50, then 25, then 10. And then I'd be like, I'm only eating 0-calorie foods. So I just have black coffee and like 0 calories, 0 sugar, Red Bull energy drinks. And it got to a point where like I legitimately had like hair fall, like my hair was falling out, and like my teeth, like a tooth felt so loose, like I just knew it was gonna fall out. And I felt like other teeth being loose, and I just knew it was gonna fall out. And I just remember praying to God. I was like, what, like, please make it stop. Like I don't want to be without my teeth and bald. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with people who like are missing teeth or like don't have hair, but if you're insecure about your weight, you're probably also insecure about other like superficial things like hair and having teeth, like and like, you know, you're getting, it's malnutrition. And I realized, you know, severe reduction of calories, severe not eating causes malnutrition, and that's why my hair and my teeth were falling out. And I had to make that choice where I was like, I could always lose weight later, but like I'm like 18 or 19, like my teeth are never coming back, and it's gonna be so much harder to grow my hair out after having horrible, like, if I get to the point where I'm having like horrible bald patches all over my head. So I'm like, let me stop. And it's like, I didn't stop out of like love for myself. I stopped for superficial reasons, which is why I still continue to struggle with eating disorders. Like throughout my life after that. And like that's rough. And so it took me going to a nutritionist, going to a lot of therapy, and like I still have to talk to myself and tell myself that like I deserve food, I deserve to eat, you have to eat, you need to eat, you have to do this for yourself. And realizing that like starving yourself totally fucks your body up. And like, you know, after I like decided to stop starving myself, I still wasn't eating that much, and I gained like an absurd amount of weight. I was on medication, and like my body was all out of whack, my hormones were off, like it was all these like different problems that like stemmed from me making this like very horrible decision, like out of this insecurity I have for myself. And I'm doing a lot better with it, but I still find that like when it comes to my partners, I still hear like that voice of like, you're not pretty enough, you're not skinny enough, you're fat, you're ugly, you're disgusting. And like I try to, like I do really well sometimes to like just fighting it off and be like, nah, you that bitch, you is that bitch, any motherfucker would be lucky, all the hoes love you, the hood love you, you is that bitch, like little waist fat ass bitch, tap in, you that bitch. But like sometimes like I don't feel like that bitch, and like I find myself like downing myself in front of my partners because like I'm still around my family. I still have that like negative, you know, thing with food. Like it's so normal in my family to be like, I'm gonna skip a meal, you don't need to eat that much, you ate too much, oh you're eating again today. It's still normal to like, in my family, like normal, common for my family to have those types of attitudes. So it's like it brings back, you know, that insecurity about food and about weight. And even though like I'm doing so well, like this year I lost like around 60 pounds, and I've kept it off fairly well, but like I still like have those voices sometimes of like where I just feel so insecure, and it impacts me like in just my overall life. Like when I'm not feeling confident or good about my appearance, like I don't want to go anywhere, like I don't want to be seen. Like I remember most of 2019 I felt so terrible about myself that like I didn't really take pictures. Like I just stopped taking pictures for months. It was probably like maybe 6 months or something. Like I stopped uploading photos to any like social media platform, because I just felt so terrible about myself and like how I looked in my body, and like I hated it. I just like I couldn't stand the sight of myself, and I didn't recognize myself. And I can't change the past, but I do wish that when I was in those moments that I looked at myself and said, like, I love you. You know, you're going through a lot of difficult things in your life right now, and things really aren't going as planned. You've took some L's, and it'd be very reasonable for you to feel like giving up on everything right now. And you know, you didn't give up on everything, and I'm proud of you for that. And you're worthy and you matter. You have the right to exist regardless of how much you weigh, but also you don't have the right to make yourself feel like complete and total shit and less than a human being just because you put on some weight during like a stressful, horrible, traumatic time in your life. But I am proud of myself because even in the midst of that insecurity and feeling hopeless about my weight and my body and all these things like that, like I did say, like, I'm gonna do something healthy for me. I'm gonna start being active again. You love being active. I started going to the gym and I had a lot of support. Like I had a friend from my fellowship who like offered to go to the gym with me, and like she showed me how to do gym stuff, like because I didn't really get like machinery and how things work, and I was afraid to do weights because I didn't know anything about it. And she's like, she was a trainer in the past, and she goes to the gym a lot, and so she showed me how to do that. And you know, she really like was my lifeline in that moment, showing me how to do that. And then like that made me feel confident enough to just go to the gym. And it wasn't always just about like, oh, to lose weight, but it's like I'm doing something like really nice for me. Like this is a gift to myself. You know, like being conscious of my food, but like eating food that I knew like felt good in my body and that made my body feel good. Like that was like a gift to myself, and that was me being like to my insecurity. But it isn't like it all goes away, right? Like you don't just lose 60 pounds and suddenly all your body issues go away. You know, because it's always like, well, I could lose 40 more. I could lose 50 more. Like, even when I got down to the same weight that I was in high school. Like, in the beginning of high school. That was 10 years ago. I got down to around the weight that I was when I was 14. I'm 24 now. And I still was like, no, it's not good enough. And like that's like where that like insecurity comes in. I mean, like my weight isn't like the only thing I'm insecure about, but my biggest thing is like my physical appearance, and that's like an insecurity for a lot of people. I'm not alone in this, you know. Like it's not like I'm the first person to ever feel insecure about my body. But there are a lot of times where I feel super great. There are a lot of times where I'm like, when are they gonna start cloning people? Cause like I gotta tap that. I gotta get that. I gotta tap that ass. Nobody else's ass. My ass. When can I tap my ass? You know? And it's truly unfortunate. But then there are times where I'm like, I feel so bad about myself where I'm like, nobody wants to tap my ass. But like, that's the insecurities talking, you know? Like, my ass is quite tappable. Quite tappable. What am I talking about? I know. I hold those truths to be self-evident, you know? But it comes and goes in waves, you know, insecure. And you have to do what you gotta do to ground yourself and feel good about it. And as much as like I've accomplished so much, you know, I got my bachelor's from like a pretty good private university. I got my master's from like a pretty good research university. I'm in my 4th year of my PhD, and I'm a talented artist. Like, I have so many creative works that I'm like capable of making that I've already made. I feel like I'm a good friend to people. I have so many things that are like just great about me, and I feel like that should be enough. So like, why in the hell do I worry about my physical appearance so much? But even in those moments where I can recognize all these awesome things about myself, there's just sometimes that insecurity about the way I look sets in. And I think moving back home with my family during this time has kind of brought like a lot of that back. And I'm better equipped to deal with it. Like, it doesn't last, the insecurities don't last as long. But I know that it does impact me. Like, when I don't feel good about the way I look, I don't feel confident. I feel like I can't do my work. Like, I can't focus. I'm always like, oh God, like, how does my hair look? Like, you know, like, is my face like, God, like, it looks disgusting. Like, my body looks disgusting. Like, why my arms look so fat from this angle? Like, why am I like, oh God, like, I'm so gross. Like, my stomach is just like poking out and just, like, where did my curves go? Like, you know, it's just like all these like ridiculous, absurd things to be obsessing over, but ultimately they're valid. When you're living in an environment where, you know, even the fact that like we live in a society where there's certain images, and not to be one of those people who's like, Instagram has like ruined us all, and we like don't know how to be like perceived and to perceive anymore. Like, people have always been comparing themselves against other people. We just have that ability to do it more because we're carrying like a lot of like hot people in our pockets a lot. And yeah, you can be like, they Photoshop that, they get surgery, they face tuned that, that's a filter. Yeah, but like, I don't look like that when I use a filter, and like, I don't know how to do Photoshop. So also, I still feel like shit. Like, it doesn't like take it away, and it doesn't take it away. And I think that it just messes with me the most because like it makes me feel like I'm not good enough. And like, I feel like those things that I do value about myself that are like things that can't be taken away, like my degrees can't be taken away, my accomplishments can't be taken away, my publications can't be taken away, my art, like, yeah, you can rip it out of my hands, you can delete it, but that doesn't take away like my ability to do it, you know? Like, it feels like unwavering, unchanged, but it also just feels like a lot of times like that just isn't valued enough. Even if you value it, it just feels like it's not valued enough. And it's an undeniable fact that like beauty is capital. Beauty is a form of capital. Like, the more you can fit in or adhere to the beauty standard of your environment, of your society, like, the more upward mobility you have, you know? Like, we can be like, oh, affirmative action, like, they're gonna hire the best candidate, and like, everybody has equal opportunity. But I'm like, we all know that people who are like more aesthetically pleasing, even if you're not conscious about it, like, you prefer it. The aesthetically pleasing thing is preferable in society. It just is. And I can sit here and fight against it and be like, no, it's not. But like, you're gonna sit there and like tell me it's not. I did say you could lie to the world, but as long as you don't lie to yourself. But like, pretty girls just do be having an easier time sometimes. It doesn't mean that they don't have other problems, but they just don't have those problems because they're like unattractive, you know? And I know it sounds crazy because there might, you know, we're not supposed to say crazy. I know it sounds a bit ridiculous. Like, somebody might be looking at me and being like, okay, you're not fat. So why do you keep worrying about your weight? Like, shut up. You're not ugly. You're conventionally attractive. Shut the fuck up. What are you talking about? And I'm like, or somebody could be like, that's a cow. I'm just waiting for her to say moo. I actually clicked off like 20 minutes ago, partly because the video is too long, but like also because like I really can't stand to see her face anymore. You know, like it could be a whole number of things, you know, like that's your prerogative. You don't owe me nothing. Like, you don't owe me shit, you know? Like ultimately, like, what do we ever have to do in this life other than stay black and die? Like, that only requirements. But doesn't take away the insecurity. And I think I was getting to, like, it comes in waves for me. I have a lot less of the like, you're terrible ways, but like I do know that like my insecurities about my body makes me a bit toxic. You know, it's I know it's uncomfortable for partners when I'm just sitting there and being like, I'm fat. Just make conversation for no reason. When I'm like looking for like some sort of validation, you know, it's just like, it's like you can never tell me I'm pretty enough. Or when I'm like, I just can't accept the compliment. That's something I have to work on. That's something like I do actively work on. But I'm only human, you know? Like, I got a little toxic, you know, just a little toxic, you know, just a little toxic. And I have to like walk myself back. And usually I'm good at like my Michael Jackson moonwalking shit. You know, I did the work in therapy. I've been doing the work in therapy for years. I still do the work in therapy. And I have those things to like replace thoughts. But sometimes they're so bad. They're like so bad. They're so bad. They're bad boys. They need to be punished. And who is gonna punish them? Who? Who is gonna spank my insecurities and have them scream, daddy? Who? It gotta be me. But sometimes like I'm like not equipped. Sometimes I'm having a weak moment. Sometimes I need my support system. And there may be times where I'm probably trying to rely on my support system a little bit too much to like validate me. But like, and it's annoying. I annoy myself with this. Nobody is more annoyed by my insecurities than I am. Like, trust me, as annoyed as you are, I'm like probably 50 bajillion more times annoyed. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not in your head. I just know how I feel. But ultimately, it impacts my relationships. And I know that people get tired of the whole like, Liz, there's nothing wrong with you. Like, why do you keep saying that? Like, I'm so tired of this. Like, are you doing this for attention? Like I know that. I know it's annoying to be like, I just want to compliment her, and like, she can't accept it. It's like I don't know how to deal with that. And when you go for like the majority of your life, and the language around bodies, especially women's language about their own bodies, have been so negative, it takes a lot to like learn the words to replace that, because you don't have the examples, and you have to learn it. You have to break decades worth of a habit while still being in the environment of everybody else doing it, you know? And I was feeling a bit bad about it recently, but I was coming back because like I had a terrible when my depression, because I'm manic depressive, and when my depression comes through, the insecurity of my body gets so bad, like so bad. And you know, I made people aware that like, look, I'm going through a depressive episode, I'm feeling terrible about myself, like I'm sorry that I'm being like this, like I don't know what to do, like I don't know what to do, and I'm like not on my medication right now, and it's enough fighting off like the bad thoughts as is. And so like you're like you like fighting like you know, like get that right hook, that left hook, that 1-2 combo, like stomp them down, like the bad thoughts. It's like you want to live, bitch, you got shit to live for, okay? You got all these great things, okay? You got opportunities. Also, I'm not gonna let anything kill me until I get that PhD. Like, I'm gonna finish that thing. I can die after, God forbid, I do not want to, but like, I'm not letting nothing kill me until I finish that goddamn thing, okay? But it's like, I have all these great things going for me, and it's like, I'm already doing the work to like, pedal and like, fight off all the worst stuff of depression. But it's like, in the midst of doing that, like, you kind of don't have the energy to be like, dude, I just like, preserved my will to live. I don't know how to deal with the fact that I feel ugly right now. Like, the energy for dealing with that is gone. And, you know, like, I know that, like, I know now because of my cycles, like, I'm gonna feel better about it later. I'm not gonna be stuck here. I just feel it now, but, like, I know for a fact I'm gonna cycle out of this. And that has helped me a lot. But in the moment, sometimes it's a bit rough. And with being in a relationship and like having a partner, I'm very open about my insecurities and like what I'm going through, because I never want to leave anybody in the dark. Having a partner recently, like, because most of the time, like, insecurities, you can be like, they're not real. No one actually feels like that. That's just you telling yourself that. Like, that's the thing you tell yourself to, like, walk yourself back and be like, okay, it's okay. Having a partner confirm my fear and confirm my insecurity by, like, saying, like, they don't find me attractive anymore. That's rough. That's so rough. Rough. Like, what do you say to that? What do you say to that? And there was something about that moment where, like, I could have totally spiraled and lost myself in that insecurity. Especially because I'm like, someone confirmed it. You know, and that's the thing with insecurities. You can have, like, all these people, which is the wildest thing about it. I had all of these people around this same time telling me, like, how good I looked. Like, your skin looks amazing. Like, you're glowing. Like, your body looks so great. Like, what have you been doing? Like, you look amazing. Like, holy shit. Like, you look so great. But it's just like, when one person out of all these people, when one person tells you that negative thing and, like, confirms your insecurity, it's just like, see, I told you that bitch ugly. See, brain was like, you ain't shit. And they just said, you ain't shit. Therefore, you are not shit. I think, therefore, I ain't shit. Like, or whatever, like, Renee said. But, like, when one person, like, and that's so unfair. That sucks. That totally sucks. That, like, one person can confirm an insecurity and suddenly you're like, yeah, they right. These is facts. That's on period. You ain't shit, and that's on period. Like, that's so unfair. And there was something about that moment where I was like, this is putting me in such a low place, and I don't know what to do. Like, to hear that, like, put me in such a low place to actually hear my partner, which makes it even worse because it's your partner, say that to me. And there was something about like that putting me in such a low place, and being a person of action, being a man of action, and needing to like go somewhere with that. It was like, I don't have anywhere else to go but up. Like, what do I do to that? And it was like, to hear that, it like awoke something in me where like immediately my brain was like, no, false, wrong. Dims is not the facts. See this right here? This is not brakes. These is not the brakes. This is the acceleration. Okay, this is not the brakes. Okay, I don't know car parts. I never learned car. But like, that's not true. Okay, Abraham Lincoln would never say this to me. Like, Honest Abe would never, because like, that's not true. I am that bitch. And you're wrong. And it's wild because I wasn't expecting for my brain to feel that. And that like really brought me to this place of like reviewing my insecurities again and reminding myself that like, whose opinion actually matters? Because ultimately it's me who I go to bed with every night, and it's me who I wake up to every morning, and it's gonna be like that for the rest of my life. So I have to do the work to maintain that feeling and take care of myself, and take care, not just for the superficial things, but like out of an act of self-care and self-love, to be like, you have this insecurity and it's a thing you actively have to work on, you have to be careful with, and you have to fill your cup with the good shit, metaphorically, but also this tea is some good shit. I fucks with it. You have to fill your cup with the positive things about yourself and around people who have positive things to say about you generally. No one can be totally positive all the time. No one should be positive all the time. Like, that's a lot of work. Toxic positivity is also a thing, and maybe I'll do a video about that later. Yeah. I'm feeling up to that. But ultimately, I have more ability to create the environment that I want to be around than I thought, you know? And it's extra work. It is extra work, especially when your environment is not being so kind to you. You know, people can't be positive all the time, and sometimes, you know, you do need some criticism. You need to take some fucking criticism. But it's not like this is the only like toxic trait that I have, but it's the thing that I'm thinking about the most, because it took a lot for me to even come on camera. I was like, do I feel good enough to do this? Do I feel aesthetically pleasing enough to myself? But like, I can't be so concerned with how others perceive me, even though like I really would like to not be perceived. Like, don't, like, I have to worry about like how I feel about myself, because like ultimately there's always gonna be someone who's like, I don't like that, you know? Like, there's like, especially with being in the alt scene, like, you have women who are tatted up completely, who just like have sleeves, like chest pieces, everything, like, you know, they might even have like the ideal body type, you know, like that people deem as like the standard, but there will always be people who are gonna look at them and be like, you're disgusting, your tattoos are gross, like, you look demonic, you look ew. But there are also gonna be people who are like consistently simping for them and being like, please step on me, mommy, like, please fucking step on me, mommy. And like, does that mean that the people who are like, you are gross, that like they matter and that we need to listen to them? Like, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter if you do your hair that day and you do your makeup that day and you look super great. It doesn't matter if you lose weight, gain weight. You know, those people are committed to thinking that you're not the shit. And so, like, I don't have to please anybody but myself. And I'm making the commitment to be like, you the shit. And we can't worry about the people who are like, you ain't shit. Because that's toxic. And they're clearly not trying to work on their toxic traits that are rooted in their insecurities. Oh my God, I stayed on topic. I brought it back. I brought it all back. High five to me. This, I'll get better. You know, statistically, if I keep making videos, at some point, they are going to get better. Like, I've never taken statistics, but if I don't Google it and look it up, and I try to avoid people who know about statistics, I can keep believing this false information. And we are still under the Trump presidency for a few more months, which means hashtag fake news matters. Fake news matters. It doesn't. The journalism industry was already in trouble, and it's like even in more trouble now. And like, I don't know like what's real anymore. You know, like I don't know what's real anymore. And that's like kind of scary, you know? Like, I don't know, like what are things? What are life? What is this tea again? Ginger turmeric. It's herbal. That was loud, I'm sorry. Bye! This is really awkward. I'm trying to do the click.